Hi, this is Web3 Talks, the podcast where we learn how to build Web3 projects directly from Web3 founders. My name is Maciej Budkowski and I talk with the founders about their projects, business models, technology, community building, user acquisition strategies, and more. If you want to start your own project or are just curious about the space, this podcast will bring you answers. Stay tuned. Hello, Szymon. I'm very glad that you found some time for the meeting because, for those listening, Szymon and Trump has closed a very big round of financing in the last months, and I bet they are really busy spending that money to grow the business further. So very happy to see you today.
Well, pleasure mine. Very happy to be here.
For those who don't know Szymon, he's the founder of Ramp. And in short, it's a company that lets you buy crypto so easily that even your mom can handle it. But, before we get to Ramp, could you, Szymon, share some background that you had in crypto space, how you ended up here and, what's your story?
So the backstory of all of it is that I was always very much into crypto since very, very early days of this entire space. One reason for that being that I always had liberal, borderline libertarian views on how societies should work and coordinate efforts. And crypto solutions, starting with Bitcoin through smart contract platforms like Ethereum and so many interesting solutions that launched ever since Ethereum came to be, just seemed very elegant solutions for many coordination issues that are now being solved through just centralized state. And now we can sort of start looking into potential new ways of coordinating humans. And the issue of coordinating human effort is probably, the biggest leverage for human development. And just so exciting to see how crypto technologies are able to facilitate that. And I'm very curious to see how these could contribute towards better futures for all of us. So since my very early days of fascination with crypto, I was very close to everything that happened in the space. But I got seriously involved only in early 2017, just before the crypto ICO bubble. I got hired together with co-founder of RampNetwork in a peer-to-peer lending platform that was at that point in time a Bitcoin business and was looking into building a protocol and an Ethereum-enabled platform for mass usage or like mainstream use case. Something like social lending club or but on crypto rails. And it was a very interesting idea to us, to me and Przemek. We're very much into it, building lending markets and money markets using crypto technology was something I'm very passionate about. So we did not hesitate. We joined this crypto startup. But then we very quickly discovered that the infrastructure to build something that could be built, that could be used by actual end users just wasn't there. So the wallet infrastructure, the UX patterns, and especially the payment side of it. So how do users put their hands on crypto even to be able to then use it and potentially lend it, or what do they do with crypto they would borrow? That was a big issue there, and one of the contributing factors for this business to ultimately fail. And being so very passionate about supporting this entire space and seeing firsthand how lack of good infrastructure is affecting, development of actual use cases using crypto infrastructure. We looked into, just helping out the entire space. And we saw that although many people were working on better wallets and better UX patterns, there was almost no one building payment products for crypto. Everybody just thought that Coinbase solved it all. And Coinbase did not. Coinbase is a use case built around speculation. This is a product built around speculation, and there's nothing that they do not offer an API, an SDK. There's nothing that you can use as a crypto product developer to make it super easy and smooth for your end users to, join your platform and re-engage with anything Web3. So we saw that as a massive opportunity, and we've been obsessed with solving this particular issue ever since.
So like the reason that the first startup failed became an inspiration for Ramp, basically.
Yeah, one of the reasons why.
Okay. So what's the main idea behind Ramp?
So the main idea behind Ramp is to make Web3 possible. As I mentioned, we think that there is tremendous potential in reinventing so many markets, platforms, ways of coordinating efforts, verticals with crypto technology. But with crypto technologies come very particular issues, hurdles that just have to be solved first to be able to ship delightful experiences around these issues. And for Web3 to start competing with Web 2.0, very similar system of underlying tech products have to be developed first. So as for e-commerce to flourish, we just needed PayPal and things like Stripe. The same goes for Web3. And we really learned to love the problem, not the product. So, Ramp is not about any particular way of solving issues people have with using Web3. We exist to make your interactions with Web3 products as smooth as possible and ultimately, preferably, just invisible.
Mm-hmm.
This is why we exist.
Before I got into this recording today, I checked Ramp. I clicked around and checked how it works. And it was very surprising to me because it looks like, for people who, haven't tried it, it looks more or less like Uniswap. I mean, like, this is very clean user interface, but you don't need any crypto wallet, and you just type how much you want to buy. Like, for example, I want to buy 5 Ethereum, like 5 ETH, and you can make a bank transfer or add a credit card, and that's it. And it was super surprising to me because I have accounts on like too many centralized exchanges. And every time I was making an account, I needed to go through the KYC. But on Ramp, there's no KYC. I just add my credit card number or make a bank transfer, and that's it.
There's always KYC.
Yeah.
There's no crypto on Ramp without KYC, but how we do it really depends on how we are going to score the individual transaction risk and whether we would consider it an occasional transaction or if we would consider you a new user to be on board. So there is a lot of compliance-related nuance to it. We definitely are not like Uniswap in a sense of not being regulated by AML and KYC regulations. We do KYC every person. What you probably haven't noticed is that after making a transaction, we screen it. We may request additional KYC data.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing that you did was an indicator of a risky transaction that could be involved in any financial crime.
Mm-hmm.
We would also use the data that we get from payment provider about you and your card or bank account to screen you to make sure that you're not politically exposed and that you're not on any sanctions list, or even that there is no adverse media on you, because if you would be engaged into any activity that perhaps could make us feel like you may be involved in some criminal activity, you would get your transaction banned, and we would definitely work with police and law enforcement to make sure that would be noticed. So having said that, we really make sure that we are as granular as possible on scoring individual risk of individual transactions. And definitely if you would make another transaction, for example, in a short period of time, or if you would use a VPN, or maybe if you would just buy a bigger amount of tokens, or even if you would go through the entire process, because I do not know if you finalize the transaction, it would turn out that we would request some additional data for us to be just on the safe side and make sure that no nefarious activity is going on. And then also what I wanted to say is a lot of the Ramp's beauty and simplicity really shines when you use Ramp within an interface of one of our partners. So actually, most of our users use Ramp as a component of some other Web3 enabled products. So we work with NFT platforms, we work with DeFi, we work with DEXs, we work with wallets, and many other very interesting ventures. And also lately, we started working with some enterprise clients, and we'll have some very exciting announcements to make. But even today, we work with Opera Browser on onboarding Opera Browser's users to Web3, which is tremendously exciting. We also received an investment from Mozilla last year. So we're seeing this space really progressing in Web3 sort of becoming more and more mainstream this way. And so when Ramp is integrated into our partners' products, what this really means is you do not need to worry about your wallet address or whether this is, I don't know, layer 2 or Ethereum or none of that would actually matter to you, because we would automatically make sure that the right crypto wallet address is there, and you wouldn't need to jump through MetaMask to, I don't know, top up SoRare, for example, to buy your favorite football card NFT. And this really makes this entire experience super streamlined. So yeah, part of it is that we're very granular and thoughtful about how we measure risk and apply KYC, different KYC methods on you, but also how this entire experience is embedded into the actual product you want to use. And we're all about using crypto, right? So these are the use cases that we do support. It's not, buy now and hopefully stay later at a higher price. It's often, just fun, like Axie Infinity, or some interesting action like SoRare, or, just saving money like with DeFi. And that's very exciting. We want to help grow crypto economy.
Yeah. So as far as I got it, your KYC is as in the background as possible. So you try to make it very smooth, so it doesn't, destroy the whole experience. Like, for example, I want to buy, spend $10 on, NBA Top Shot. So probably I don't need to send everything, because as far as I got it, you get part of the KYC through the bank account.
We may screen you through open banking APIs when eligible.
Okay.
So this is one of the ways we acquire data. KYC is not about scanning your ID. It's very often is about scanning your ID, but it doesn't have to always be like that. Mm-hmm. It's about knowing our customers. So whatever methods we can use to do that, and also making sure that this is appropriate and really fits the risk profile of any individual transaction. And yeah, as you said, this is a 10 USD transaction done in low risk jurisdiction in a use case that we know is recreational and does not often or at all relate to any criminal activity. Then your first transaction could be KYC in the background, right? And then if you would come back and say, hey, now we're going to buy 2,000 USD worth of Bitcoin and send it to my empty Bitcoin address, then it would say, aha, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. So this is an entirely different risk profile. Now we would need your ID scan, your selfie, potentially also your address. And perhaps if there is something fishy about this, or our system would just see something unusual in the spending pattern, your source of wealth or income as well. So it really scales up with how risky the transaction is. And this is what the entire compliance is, right? So compliance is about making sure that you apply proportional measures to how big the risk is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it reminds me of the early days of PayPal, where they found out that one of the biggest values that they had was the ability to very accurately see any potential problems with their clients. And, it was the stepping stone of Palantir, basically, because, Peter Thiel just got part of the stack outside PayPal and just built another business on that. But, going to the more practical application, your product is not easy. I mean, it's not NFT marketplace that you target for B2C. It's mostly B2B product, at least at the start it was. And I'm wondering, how have you acquired your first customer? Who was the first customer and how have you done it?
So the first end user was someone super random who used our product on our website, and it was entirely unexpected. And we got this ping over Slack, hey, somebody just made their first transaction. We were very surprised. So I remember a lot of excitement around the company when that happened. We were a team of 5, I think, at that point. And one of our early partners was Aave. Mm-hmm. I don't think that was our very, very first integrator or partner, but this was one of their very first ones, and we were very excited about that. And it just came down to us being embedded into this crypto space. So, we are crypto natives, and, we're crypto natives who are running a fintech startup. And part of it was that we just knew people, and people were very excited about the opportunity to make the user journey of their end users so much easier and smoother. And that was very organic. Actually, up until very recently, we had no sales team. That was just all pure inbound. People were excited about how our product is smooth and makes their end users' customer journey so much better. And yeah, I mean, a couple of weeks or months ago, we built a sales team, and now our commercial team is, I think, 12 strong. 12 people strong, which is very exciting, but this is a very, very new and recent development. For the most part, it was always about inbound and people just being very excited about the concept.
Okay, I was wondering, how do you get such high-profile partners? Because, Axie Infinity, Aave, Dapper Labs, these are like, tier one crypto projects. Maybe there are like, 30, 40 projects like that in the whole space. So I'm wondering, like, when you have inbound interest, do you sell it like every B2B product? Like you make a demo, you meet with tech team, you check out the integrations and so on? Or is it somehow different because you work in a crypto space?
So it is very different. I would say, first of all, we attract tier one partners because we provide a tier one infrastructure solution. And I think this is like 80% of the success. I think we are very well known to deliver excellent quality, great customer support, a lot of payment methods, very high acceptance rates, excellent UX, very friendly solutions engineers who will help you if you struggle. And this all contributes to just our profile as the provider of choice for tier one partners. Having said that, obviously, we are very well embedded in this space. We are also well connected through our existing partners, our investors, our team and alumni with the crypto space. And the crypto space is just very interesting in a way how hyper-connected it is all across the world, right? I mean, from Dapper Labs in Canada, through Aave in the UK, to
Axie.
to Axie in Southeast Asia, and I wanted to say Polygon in India, but right now they are very international. But yeah, this is a hyper-connected space, and once people learn that you deliver something excellent, they all know. And then, one last bit is really that many partners who decide to integrate Rump or decision makers within our partner organizations used Rump before, right? So, Rump is not white label. It is a separate product. It's not B2B, it's B2B2C.
Mm-hmm.
So all our end users are our own users. They interact with Rump, they transact with Rump. And the fact that just make it very easy to streamline this entire process for you through embedding the interface into the products that people use doesn't change the fact that users interact with us. And so, for many people, this is just a great experience. It's very easily attributable to our brand and our company. And then if they want to make sure that their end users would have similarly amazing experience, they would just use Rump.
Yeah, it sounds like customer conversation is much easier when you can ask, hey, have you bought Axie Infinity? And he say, yeah, I bought. Okay, it was easy because you used Ramp. And then, it's like totally different conversation when your product is already like widespread in these big projects that are, people who are into crypto, they use these projects because they are interested in the space and tinkering. Perfect. I'm wondering because, coming back to this regulatory stuff, because I'm asking about it because it's not that obvious for crypto-related projects to, proactively seek any regulatory compliance. I know that you've been registered with the United Kingdom Financial Conduct Authority, whatever it means. Like I've done some research, but I would like to, hear it from you. Why have you done it? And, how have you went through all this paperwork? Because I guess it might have been quite exhausting process.
So starting with why, we have a very long-term view on how we think this space is going to develop and how we want to play a role in this space's development. So what we believe in is really that crypto is here to stay. It's not a temporary fad. We're going to see more and more adoption. Much of that is going to come from already established platforms and players with already existing large user bases. So these are just big tech enterprises looking to ship Web3 enabled features or products. Second of all, we do believe that regulators, if you work well with them, are of course pretty good. And they're here to protect your users, and cooperating with them is just very important to make sure that you do it right. And we're committed to do it right. And then we really want to make sure that we are considered to be a safe choice for our partners. So for this very reason, we did not play any regulatory arbitrage playbook. We really made sure that from the very beginning, we were compliance first. We paid a lot of attention to developing our internal products and algorithms that let us run compliance processes efficiently. And ultimately, where we want to get to is to broker trust efficiently between Web 2.0 and Web 3.0. And we understand that sort of mindsets of people in these two worlds are fairly different. But we believe we work towards one cause. And this is just to make sure that our end users have best experience possible and can solve their problems with good tech. And this is why we decided to be very proactive about how we seek regulatory recognition and how we chose to do it the hard way, I have to say. So the FCA is known for being quite thorough and selective, and we're really working very, very hard to make sure that we can meet their expectations. So not only the regulations, but also the expectations of our regulators, which goes, just one step above. So this is what we are trying to achieve. And then we also understand that with time, there is only going to be more regulation. So, if there is like one muscle to train with the organization, it is the one connected to how you make sure that really makes our organization compliant. So our compliance muscle is very important. The last thing to say is I was trained to be a lawyer. I haven't done much in this profession, honestly, but this really helped with understanding the rationale behind regulations in this space, and also then making sure that, as you said, paperwork went smoothly. But we welcome regulation. We think this is important. We just need to make sure that regulators understand the risk profile very well, and that we can give them comfort around how we manage these risks. Mm-hmm. And we're proactively trying to make sure that this is the case.
And how long did it take for you to get through the whole procedure?
More than 1 year in the UK.
Oh, well, that's a lot. There's this joke that in Web 2, whenever startup gets money from the VC, it spends it on, Facebook and Google Ads. And whenever a startup in Web 3 gets money, they spend it on lawyers. So I guess it might have been a big budget position in your case as well.
Especially when it came to our US market entry, which was a completely separate regulatory approval process. And it is still ongoing, to be very honest. So we're not yet active in all US states. Basically, no one is. And there's going to be much more work to be done for us to make sure that we can properly market in all states in the US. But yeah, those legal fees can be steep. But this is one of the reasons why we exist, right? We built this common platform for many developers, many products to use, and then we solve this complexity or parts of the complexity around compliance for them in this particular area. So I think this is it's really good that we can do it for them and they do not need to worry about it.
Yeah, the heavier the burden you take, the more value you can provide for the customer because, it's on your shoulders. Okay. And, coming back to the positive things, the thing that was a consequence partially of this, very big openness for regulators and cooperation with partners in crypto space. I'd like to talk about growth because the last year you've grown 40x or something like this, some absurd, multiplier, and you finished that was around $50 million, which is a pretty big number even for the crypto space. So I'm wondering, how do you manage this kind of growth related to recruitment processes? How do you, not get lost in this whole growing pains?
So I'm not. But yeah, it's all about your founding team and the leadership abilities of people you hire very early on. And I feel like we had a lot of luck and also made a lot of good decisions in terms of who to hire. So we hired young, hungry people with great backgrounds, very good education, some very interesting strategic experience around different areas that they manage, but at the same time with something to prove and with hunger. And when you have excellent backgrounds, you're smart, you have something to prove at the same time, and you're hungry, you can really just do wonders. So we're able to scale very quickly by making sure that most of our founding team got promoted with new responsibilities, and they were able to grow with the company and lead it to a new level. And I think this is like 80% of the recipe for some ambitious growth. And also, we had a lot of tailwinds, right? I mean, this entire industry is growing at a breakneck speed. It also really helps that Web3 is so exciting for so many smart people. Smart people looking into what's actually really interesting in the tech world today. Many people are attracted to machine learning. Some other people are attracted to, multimedia and like augmented reality. But there are many, many people who are fascinated by Web3. And then for them, I believe Ramp is one of the best ways to get into this space. Because on one hand, we are a little bit of a traditional fintech from Web 2.0, but then we have exposure to pretty much everything that happens all across the industry, right? So we work with all the leaders in all the hottest verticals, and we literally see what's next and what's around the corner because, before our partners launch, they are already working with us on adding Ramp to their products. So it is just a fantastic way to get exposure to what's interesting in Web3. And I feel like this value proposition, it really resonates very well with many people who decided to join Ramp. And, they could have done anything. They could have just joined Facebook or Google or any other company they would choose. But they decided to go with Ramp because of this variety of experiences and huge exposure you can get through Ramp.
Okay, cool. And one comment from me, because that's a great way of thinking about Ramp, that you're this it's not technically maybe API, but there's this joke that you should make yourself an API when you're just a part of every other project, because then you get this exposure for the whole market. And what I see is that Ramp is definitely achieving that, which is good because recruitment is one of the hardest part of the Web3 growth as far as I see. And, I'm wondering about the processes. How do you organize your work? Do you have normal, 5 people from the founding team responsible for different things? Or do you take more something closer to more flat structure? How does it work? Because I know that many companies that work in crypto space, they experiment with different, organizational structures.
I would say that to be really successful, you have to be very selective with what you choose to experiment with. So reinventing the wheel is very rarely a good idea if you have a very strong view on any particular aspect of running an organization that you think everybody else is doing wrong, or at least wouldn't work in your case, in your specific case, for some very good reason. Then, that may be an interesting idea, but then reinventing the wheel when you are moving at this speed is just not something that you have time for. So what we are doing is we are using experience of the best in terms of how to manage, how to organize teams, how to assign responsibilities, and also differently than some of the more sort of new and frontier types of organizations, we're also a regulated organization. So there are certain requirements around how responsibility would be structured, how the executive team and officers of the company would be assigned with certain resources, and at the same time, how they would sort of share responsibilities among themselves. And we just feel like doing things by the book, at least in the way we are organized, is the way to go for us. Because we just cannot be a DAO, at least at this point, right? I mean, we are interfacing with banks, with payment services providers, regulators, law enforcement as well. So our organization has to be structured in a way that is well suited to serve the new economy, but also recognizable and sort of familiar for participants of the ancien regime. So I would say that we are organized very much by the book. And this means that me and my co-founder lead the company. Each of us has around 7 to 8 direct reportees. Most of them are team leaders leading certain areas on executive level. And yeah, I would say that nothing unusual for a company of this stage. We're roughly 120 now. This means that the structure is not very flat right now because we have to have middle managers to be able to manage this size of our organization. And this also gives us ability to grow more rapidly and build more teams and just make sure that we are able to keep up with businesses of our partners, which are also growing at a breakneck speed. So this is very important to us. So focus on right split of responsibilities, easily recognizable way of sharing our responsibilities that is easy to understand for regulators, focus on scalability.
Okay. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Like you are in this very hard position, between these two worlds, and you need to kind of show both of these parties that you are understanding their needs, and you're kind of like them, but you're like in between. So yeah, thanks for that. So I have one question before we get to the traditional 3 quick questions at the end of the podcast. I'd like to ask you about the challenges, because we've talked how you've grown, like what have been done to achieve that. But I'm wondering, what have been the biggest growth and tech challenges that you have faced so far?
What I tended to say is that biggest problems are always people problems, right? And being in an organization built by hyper ambitious people who are very hungry and at the same time really committed to do it right, taking no shortcuts, making sure to just run everything properly, and just a bunch of perfectionists, ultimately, it is really hard because the expectations that they have of each other. So how, what sort of high quality of work they expect from their teammates really sometimes leads to some tension, I can say. And then not all people scale exponentially. So it is a very common occurrence that as company scales exponentially, some people just scale,
linearly.
a more human way, right? So more linearly. And then there's this disconnect. And this disconnect is frustrating and taxing, not only on this individual side, but also the entire team and people who rely on quality and reliability and speed of their work also suffer. And these are the hardest problems connected to scaling. So really making sure that you put right people in right places who have this potential to scale as quickly as our company scales is really, really important. And you would never get it right, 100% of the time, right? So there will always be issues to manage and people to, manage expectations of. Also in the sense of like, hey, your teammate is not doing best work of his life. Perhaps the challenge that he's facing is just too large. And yes, they are already leaving the organization. We have somebody lined up to join in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks. But when everything is growing so fast, 2 weeks or 4 weeks or 6 weeks can be super frustrating. So yeah, this is one of the, when we are very successful, this is one of the main challenges you need to deal with.
Yeah, like a growing pain. And regarding technology, what have been the biggest tech challenges for you so far?
I would say that managing risk is a very big challenge, and we manage risk on 2 very different areas. So first one is compliance, just making sure that we comply with regulations, especially related to anti-money laundering. And this is really hard because you really want to get it right, but really hope to get to a point where you'll be able to automate most of the routine, mundane tasks like transaction monitoring with time. And there are companies that move fast and break things, but we are dedicated to moving with pace and precision. And pace and precision in building tools and infrastructure is used to control risk is just very hard because it is not only a technological challenge, it is also a challenge of how to weigh different risks and trade-offs and how precise you want to be, but also how quick you want to be. So, and as we are dedicated to doing it right and to remain compliant and to not only meet regulatory requirements, but also expectations, this is something that we pay a lot of attention to and where a lot of our focus is. And secondly, managing fraud risk is very important. Fraud is very commonplace in all products used to buy crypto, and managing this, and at the same time making sure that users have very smooth experience that feels instantaneous is a big challenge as well. So, and of course, there are many other places where our engineers are doing fantastic work and overcoming really large challenges with scaling the infrastructure, making sure that our product is very reliable, making sure that our interfaces are super responsive, and also being always on the bleeding edge of crypto, because we at Ramp are dedicated to always supporting newest breakthroughs and development in the crypto space. So we're one of the first ones to work with NFT companies, one of the first ones that offered smart contract capability. We were one of the first ones that entered layer 2 space, and we are the leaders of layer 2 compatibility. We work with Blueprint, ZK Sync, Starkware, Polygon, many side chains, very much looking into also rolling out ZK Sync, very much looking into rolling out some more like Arbitrum. And this is, of course, very important. But I would say that from the product/tech perspective, this is one of the biggest ones. So.
Okay, thank you for that. So, Szymon, I have 3 last questions that I ask to any person that visits this podcast. And the first one is, you have quite a broad perspective of the Web3 space because you've been here for a long time. You see all interesting projects every day, I guess. So I'm wondering, what have been the most mind-blowing projects that you have seen? Something that made you think like, wow, how they have connected these dots. Like, this is something new, something fresh.
So there is a lot that blows my mind in this space. It's very hard to pick one, but I would say that I'm always into great end user experiences. So I'm much less impressed by, technological marvels and like super interesting ways to scale blockchains. This is something that my co-founder is mostly into. I'm into very elegant solutions to everyday problems. And one of the examples that I really like is Argent Wallet, which is a very neatly packaged end user proposition that includes a lot of what we really love about Ethereum and DeFi in a way that really makes it very easy to use for anyone who's got any experience with mobile banking. And this is very exciting. We are partnered with Argent. We support on-ramping for their end users. And this is very exciting to us. And I would say that we really cheer them and also are looking forward to seeing how they would develop their product into potentially something that is as powerful as many of the financial super apps that we see in Web 2.0 and traditional fintechs. Just with crypto superpowers, right?
Yeah. Yeah, like Argent, as far as I know, you can even have this social recovery in this wallet. So this is like very revolutionary for average Joe that can just forget their password, which happens like all the time to people. And they could just recover it through people that they have like pointed to them.
It's one of their flagship features, but I would say that they're super thoughtful on every step of the journey. So this ingenuity is packed into this entire product. There are so many more very smart solutions that they integrated, including being integrated with Ramp.
Okay, and what has been the thing that made you smile or laugh through these years? Something that happened or something that you have seen, or any observation about the space that just makes you smile or laugh.
So I'll give you a very different answer to perhaps what you would expect. What really makes me smile is when I see reviews of Ramp. We have a dedicated channel on Slack that funnels in all the reviews we get. We ask for a review after every completed first transaction from our end users. And then what makes me smile is that for many of them, they were relieved. For many of them, they tried so many times to make crypto work for them, but to them, it almost often seemed like crypto is just not for them, right? And then after they complete the flow with Ramp, and because of the nature of how it is embedded into the end products they're trying to use, how we do not require them to withdraw from exchange or like bridge it through some wallet to layer 2 or whatever, they just feel relieved. And when I read through their reviews, this really makes me smile. So making crypto easy is what makes me smile. This is what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So I got a last question, and this is a question about a person. Like, who do you think might be a good fit for a conversation that we had today? Someone who is a builder like you, not trader, not VC, not thought leader, whatever the fuck it means, just a person that builds and has some story to tell.
This is actually an excellent question. And of course, I came unprepared. But I have, my first thought was really about Pavel, who is founder of TechTree.
Mm-hmm.
And TechTree is a marketplace, a content platform for engineers and people who build. But Pavel has, and I hope I won't spill the beans for TechTree, but he really has some very interesting concepts about how this platform could be tokenized in the future and how he could unleash potential of users of his platform by using very, very smart tokenomics. And this is one of the most exciting use cases for crypto economy and crypto tokens I saw for a very, very long time. I would totally recommend you would invite him over.
Okay, this is the first time I've heard about this project, so I'll be very happy to learn more about it. So thank you for that.
But yeah, this is very much outside of the crypto bubble. And this is one of the most exciting things about TechTree. They're just trying to solve an issue. And then, it just so happens that one of the most productive and interesting ways they came up with was to use tokenomics to solve part of the issue or the problem they are solving for their end users. And this is actually exciting, right? So not just building crypto for building crypto's sake, just to issue a token, real life issue, smart crypto-based solution, and ruthless heads down building.
Perfect. So I'll definitely follow up with that. So Szymon, thank you very much for finding time in your busy schedule for our conversation. And I hope that many builders listening to that will be inspired by story and maybe either use Ramp in their products, or maybe they will just build something that can excite people in any other way. But we'll have this thought from you that you should make your crypto product really easy to use, because without that, it will be hard to scale.
Thank you so much. It was fun.
Thank you. Have a good day.